by Dan Simmons is currently my favorite book of all time, and for a lot of reasons. So I wanted to make a video review discussing reasons why I think Hyperion is a must-read for anybody venturing into the sci-fi or fantasy genre. When discussing the best sci-fi books of all time, some that might come to mind will be Dune, Ender's Game, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Foundation, and now of course, Hyperion. When I first read Hyperion, I dove into the book with no expectations, no background, and no idea what I was getting myself into. I didn't even read the blurb on the back of the book of this story. I just downloaded it on Kindle and started reading. For me, Hyperion quickly became something more than just reading a book. It was an experience. Now, don't get me wrong, I love reading books. I think a lot of books successfully sweep me away into a story where I have an overall enjoyable time. There are just few books, though, that linger in my brain for years and years down the road. There are a few books, though, that sit with me with such an emotional level that only further confirms my love for reading. Hyperion is one of these books. Now, getting to the point of this video, why should you read Hyperion if you have not just yet already? And also, why did I love this book so much that I got it tattooed on my body? Well, let's see why. On the world called Hyperion, beyond the law of the hegemony of man, there waits a creature called the Shrike. There are those who worship it, there are those who fear it, and there are those who have vowed to destroy it. In the Valley of the Time Tombs, where huge brooding structures move backward through time, the Shrike waits for them all. On the eve of Armageddon, with the entire galaxy at war, 7 pilgrims set forth on a final voyage to Hyperion, seeking the answers to unsolved riddles of their lives. Each carries a desperate hope and a terrible secret, and one may hold the fate of humanity in his hands. Hyperion is unlike any other book I've read in terms of the delivery of the story. 7 pilgrims are on a journey to the planet of Hyperion, where they share tales as to why they're making this trek. The story of Hyperion is each of these pilgrims' tales that weave together in a central plot that is just simply captivating. One of my favorite things about this book is that we get to experience 6 distinct tales that are all widely different in tone, the delivery, the environment, and more. In one chapter, you are in a remote, primitive jungle village, while a few chapters later, you are in a sprawling city full of technology far beyond what we have today. Each of these stories I loved, but sure, there were a few that I enjoyed more than others, but I was fully engaged into each one, wanting to see what was going to happen next. We also transverse time and space in many of these stories that take you through an adventure through the hegemony of man, where humans have spread far beyond the stars of Earth. Also, like I said a few moments ago, each of these pilgrims' tales are unique in terms of the overall tone. You can even argue that they are in separate genres as well. From detective noir, to religious exploration, to mystery, to love stories, Hyperion is full of different tales that all intertwine with commonalities that all tie back to the planet of Hyperion. And for those who are watching right now who have already read the book, you probably understand what I'm going to say here in terms of my favorite tales were the scholar's tales and the poet's tale, especially the scholar's tale. This is a story about a father-daughter relationship that hit me on such an emotional level like no other book before. It's simply a beautiful story that leads to more. More questions, more desire to read, more to love from the story. Each of these stories follow a singular character that becomes fleshed out and feels real. Characters possess a depth and complexity, giving more life to the story and the events occurring around them. Martin Salinas is one of my favorite characters of all time. This is a person that feels real, like he's your long-lost uncle who's always spewing out new, over-the-top stories. He makes me laugh almost every single time he is on the page when I'm reading through this story. If you've read this book, I think most likely you would agree with me. The universe of Hyperion is full of wonders, while at the same time full of horrors. Dan Simmons paints a vibrant world that feels immersive, believable, and a bit scary. On the thumbnail of this video, you most likely noticed an enigmatic creature known as the Shrike. This is an omnipresent, foreboding entity that you have no clue what to think. It is described as a spiked metal abomination that exudes fear. But is it an ally? Is it a foe? Or is it a god? Questions about this universe continue to build around the central plot of the story that is a mystery that can only be described as a welcomed haunting of your brain. I was in awe in some of the technology presented in this story, really showing the imagination of Dan Simmons. Giant trees that are capable of space travel, portals that allow instantaneous travel to anywhere and everywhere, factions of AI that don't agree on a common path forward, that interact or don't with humankind, factions of humans that diverge from the mainstream society of humanity with altered physiology, biomechanical enhancements, or body adaptations that make it hard to distinguish them from typical humans. Reading through Hyperion, my brain was put into a labyrinthine of things that make me think and wonder. What is possible? I mean, structures that move backwards in time? Ideas like this is just dropped like seeds into your brain that grow into large trees full of wonder. Existentialism. What does it mean to be human? Why are we here? I love books that explore this theme, which is most likely why I'm such a huge sci-fi fan. Books like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick, The Lathe of Heaven by Lee Guin, Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer are books that explore this that I simply love. It makes me think. It makes me wonder. It makes me appreciate what I have now in front of me today. Also, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe, if you're having a good time. I mean, we're both human, right? Do it! Hyperion delves into this territory as well, with multiple characters questioning, why them? Why are they here? Why is this happening to me? I was talking about earlier, with each pilgrim having their own story. Different themes are explored in each as well. Just in one story alone, you can explore themes of faith, love, grief, self-sacrifice, and more. Each of these themes, I believe, are explored in a way that only connects you further to the story overall. As you can tell by this point, I really enjoyed Hyperion. Again, it was a book that was just more than just reading words on a page. It was a full experience. From its intricate plot, complex characters, weaving themes, and ideas that make you wonder, I think Hyperion is a book that you should read if you haven't already. Even if you don't enjoy one of the Pilgrim's Tales, there is more beyond that story for you to enjoy. I truly think that there is something here for everyone within this book called Hyperion. Also, a quick disclaimer, I mean, there are a few kind of zany and peculiar things within the story, but to me, it did not take away from the experience at all. Also, one more thing you might have a potential issue with is with the ending. You know the phrase, journey before destination? Well, in this book, journey is definitely at the forefront before we get to the destination. We get to a point at the end of the book where there is still so much more to cover. And to some, it might not even feel like an ending at all, but it could be the beginning of something more. Because there's actually 3 more books in this series, so if you want me to cover those books as well, leave a comment down below letting me know. Hey, are you listening to me? I need you to go read Hyperion right now. Okay? And again, those are my thoughts on Hyperion by Dan Simmons, and if you had a good time, go ahead and smash that like button because I would really appreciate it. If you're sticking around this long, you've earned 1 XP token, and if you're already a subscriber, you get an extra XP token, so here you go. Thanks again, have a good one. Keep reading. Peace.